Okay, so this is a proof of concept video for the Solo system. The Solo system is a system that allows you to play multiplayer games solitaire, and it does so by actually providing you with an actual opponent. That's not necessarily predictable. He's going to do some things that they expect him to do, but not always. The system itself is based on something called Mythic, which was designed for role-playing games, but it doesn't work exactly the same, and although similar, it's not the same. I've used Mythic to play this game right here, which is in front of me. This is Moonbase Alpha. So I haven't actually specifically used the Solo system for it, but there's no reason why it wouldn't work. The game, having used Mythic for it, I mean, essentially the Solo system is a streamlined version of Mythic. So I'll just explain a little bit of mechanics about the Solo system, and then I'll go to actually trying to play a game. The Solo system it's comprised of three decks of cards. There's 54 cards total. First deck, the personality deck, has 20 cards. The military deck has 20 cards, and then the probability deck has 14 cards. That's not the only function about each of these cards. There's lots of little different pieces of information on the cards, but I'll explain that kind of as I play the game. The personality deck, the key part of the personality deck is, you probably won't be able to see it, this top piece right here, which is the personality that you're currently playing against this turn. In any real game, you would generally be playing against a real opponent. An opponent will have certain preferences in terms of how they prefer to play the game. This is meant to simulate that. In the last turn, I'm starting in the middle of the game. In the last turn, my opponent had an opportunist personality, and there's some consistency. Sometimes the opponent will have the same personality from round to round to round, but sometimes he'll just completely shift. It's a little bit random, but that's kind of the nature of the system. It's not entirely predictable, but there is some consistency. The military deck has different options. Military deck is not necessarily just used for military, but it's used for choosing kind of tactics. It's used for where do you want to move units to, what is your opponent's current goal in terms of military. This would be something that you probably use a lot more in say war games per se, not always, but any kind of games where there's kind of like a direct conflict involved. And then finally, the probability deck. This is the thing that borrows the most heavily from Mythic. Probability deck has there's two parts of the probability deck. There's the auction part, which will come into play a little bit in this scenario. But the primary thing of the probability deck is that it has essentially how you use the Solo system is you come up with a scenario what you think your opponent's going to do, and then you kind of think, well, I think he's probably going to do this, he's probably not going to do this, or you have no idea if he's going to do it or not. You'll say, I think these units are going to move to this space right here. No idea if they're going to do it. I flip it over. Unsure? No, they don't do it. They're going to do something else. The yes, no, or draw again are the possibilities that you actually get in these cards. In and of itself, it's a very useful tool, but sometimes you need a little bit more direction from that, and then you're going to use other pieces of information to kind of grab that information. 54 deck of cards. It's nice. The deck of 54 cards is on purpose. It's purposely small because in any game you're going to have, I don't know what your table space is, but you don't want to have this taking up too much space. And 3 decks of cards is not a lot of space. You can use it to assign an opponent. In this case right here, it is perfectly fine. But I mean, if you have a big game that takes up the whole board, that'll work too because these really don't take up a lot of space. Okay, now in Moonbase Alpha, I chose this game for a couple reasons. I've played it at least a few times, all solitaire, usually two-handed, playing two sides against each other and seeing what happens. I tried to come up with an AI for it before and never succeeded. But Mythic worked, which means that this system will work just fine, because this system is based somewhat on Mythic. The way it worked, okay, so I'm going to assume that you know how to play this game because you published it. The war game. The other advantage of this game is that there's fairly complex decisions that your opponent will make. Nothing's really kind of set in stone, so the decisions that you make are they're complex. So to try to come up with an artificial intelligence for an opponent is more difficult than probably you would want it to be. And so, it's solo as well in that like a lot of the information is open-ended. There is some bluffing mechanics which you have to get around in this system, but it works okay. One of the primary things that you're going to find using the solo system is because your opponent is doing somewhat random kind of activity, not entirely, you're going to want to give it, you're going to want to give it some kind of advantages. You don't always have to do that. If you're just learning a game, no, just play it. But if you don't give it any kind of advantages at all, there's a really good chance you're going to win, and your challenges rate is going to go down. So to compensate for that, it's good to really give it some kind of advantage. One of the things there's two advantages I'm going to give the AI in this system. I'm going to give him one science that came into play already intact. In this case right here, he got targeting computers. So if he rolls a 1. When making attack rolls, if he re-rolls attack of 1 dice once per attack, so that means that he's a lot better at attacking. So that's a distinct advantage, I think. The other advantage I'm going to give him is in these decks right here. There is in this corner right here a little star system. Most of the decks don't have it, but I think 6 out of the 20 cards do have it. In that case, if you flip over a card that has a star, then he gets an extra action that turn. The whole purpose of the star is literally just for handicapping yourself to play against an opponent that's not necessarily as smart. Well, he might be as smart as you, but he's going to make potentially some dumb decisions. So to counteract that, you do that. That's how that works. I'm going to go ahead and play a few rounds just to kind of give you an idea about how this works. In this game, particularly right here, he was an opportunist, so he was actually trying to capture science because he has some really good tech that actually would beef up his ability. And so he's got 3 science, and he's got 1 extra mining. Two extra mining. In which case, he's going to produce 4. So he's going to make $6 that round to do something, and he's also going to. He's also got 3 extra science. So he may want to develop a science, but providing his opportunist personality stays in place, we'll see. First thing you do during every round, per se, you may want to do it several rounds in some games because it's like, well, you want your opponent to be somewhat unpredictable. But in this case right here, I'm just going to do it once per round because the rounds they're longish, but they work okay. I'm going to flip over personality and see what it is. He is changing his personality. He is no longer an opportunist. He is now a scholar. So scholarly, again, these personalities, they're deliberately vague in that they're completely open to interpretation. That is necessary, and the reason why that is necessary is because the more specific you make their personality, or more it's like, well, I think he's going to do this and this and this, the less games it's going to work for. So they're kept deliberately vague and open to interpretation, so that you can apply it to so many different games. With that said, not necessarily every personality is going to work, but in this case, he's a scholar. Scholar to me translates to research. He wants to research this round. We'll figure out what he actually wants to do when that time comes. But he likely does want to research this round, and that's kind of how that's going to work. So another way to get this specific game to work is I have several units on the board. I go first. He went second, but he got the advantage of choosing the place where he would want to go. I'm starting right in the middle of the game, so so you can kind of see the complexity of some of the actions here. I'm going to choose to place. No, first we all both get money, and we choose to what we want to develop. I am making $5 because the 4 plus 1, so $5. This one doesn't count because it's a MCU that doesn't actually capture. So with $5, I probably want to get something big on the board. I'm going to try to get a crawler and 2 PMCs. And that's going to cost me exactly $5. No extra transport costs because I have just 3 units. Now I have to figure out what he's going to want to develop. So he's got $6, so he can actually do some fairly big. His scholarly approach, I'm not sure. In this case, I really don't know, so I'm going to ask the game to see kind of what his desire is to do. I'll flip over the military deck, just get a little bit more direction, and he wants to build up. So, okay, well that's kind of somewhat useful. Build up. Does he want to go for weak units or weak units, small units? Does he want to go for the middle? That works right here. On this thing right here, I can have targets. He wants to build the strongest units, and he wants to build up the strongest. So I'm going to say that he's going to choose to make 2 crawlers. He's going to focus more on directly attacking. That will probably influence some of the stuff he's going to do later, but that's kind of where those are. He puts those into his reinforcement sections, and now we move on into the actual actions. Now we do preparations phase, and where we choose to take these things. Now, bluffing is difficult with this system, so you can kind of psych him out maybe a little bit. But what I'm going to choose to do in order to make this game to work is I'm going to place all of my stuff on first, and then figure out where he wants to do based on where he thinks I'm going to do. Now I can still pretend to bluff the computer, so I can put this moon on him, making him think that I'm going to do something. I'll put that moon right here. He can choose to interpret it or not. I definitely want this guy to attack, and I probably want him to attack first, because I'd like to get these big giant MCUs out of the way, if at all possible. I really do want to move some units, and I want to get this MCU into a position where he can actually do something useful. That's kind of how I'm going to play that one. Alright, now, his case, he has several options available. He definitely wants to research, so he wants to keep those. He is looking at this. He knows this guy's going to want to move in. So I'm looking kind of militaristic to him, because I got three things here that potentially could do military, but he wants to protect his interests, because he definitely wants to research. What does he have to research? We're going to take a look at the stuff that he's got to research. AI management system, new blank action. So he could actually choose to just get an extra attack ability each round. That sounds kind of useful. He's focusing on big units based on what his military. He wants to build up his big units. This ability to increase his MCU's ability to improve the crawlers that have better armor. That sounds pretty useful. They can move these ones could focus more on movement. He could put 2 turrets in friendly areas. The missile turrets would be good for just kind of like directly attacking. He's looking at his stuff. Based on what I can see here, there's lots of good stuff that actually seems pretty good. But the 2 that probably match the most in terms of him trying to build up extra units probably be reactive armor or missile turrets. And so I don't know which one he's going to go with. They both sounded kind of good. I'm going to use the military to choose one random one. He's going to go... Okay, I'm going to flip again. Flip again. Flip again. I probably need to shuffle these a little more. In this case, right, he's going to choose to make the reactive armor units. Now, if I would have had 3... Now, what I just did is... Okay, I have this little square system here. This would be choosing to actually move military units. But sometimes I just cheat and just use it. Okay, well, he's going to take the left thing on the left, the one on the center, and the one on the right. In this case right here, if you're using that system, you're probably going to it's going to have a strong bias to the one in the center. That's fine. You can choose to use that system. If you really want to reduce that system with the 3, then you can choose to use the bottom grid. There's different things. I will explain some of this stuff in the rules, but there's a lot of ways meant to interpret these cards on purpose, and they are deliberately left vague. Okay, so he's going to choose to. I think there's a really good chance that he's going to do that. So I could choose to check the probability to think, okay, is that really what he's going to do, or I could just accept it. I mean, I don't have any reason not to go in that direction. So I'm just going to say that that's what he's going to do. So he's going to choose that he's going to do that. Does he want to do it right away? He probably thinks that this guy's going to get attacked right away, and he knows he's going second. Hard to say. Unsure if he's going to develop it first. Let's see if he actually develops it first. Unsure? No, he doesn't develop it first. He's going to choose to do something else more useful. Okay. Well, looking around the board in terms of actually developing that, he may want to. He knows he's going to be under fire, and these things are going to probably take some attack. He probably is going to want to move his units out a little bit better. just to kind of do that. I'm going to say that's likely what he's going to do. He's going to probably try to get these guys out to kind of recover from any losses they might take there. Yep, that's what he does. Okay, so we'll put the first one there. Now keep in mind, he's doing this based on information that I've already placed out. Let's see what he does. Okay, so second thing that he can do, he could technically develop both of them. There's no reason why he couldn't. He doesn't think that I'm going to be able to take this sign. I guess I could take this guy and march it over here, but maybe he actually does want to develop both. Let's say probably wants to develop. Okay, unsure if he wants to do both. So let's check and see. No, he doesn't develop both. So he's developing this one. Let's say he's going to use that one second. But in this case right here, he's really not. There's not much else that he could do unless he just wants to advance this guy out and put him more. He doesn't have a lot else he can do. You know what? I'm gonna scratch it and say he doesn't have a lot of options. He is gonna try to develop both of them. See what happens. Okay. Even though he had other possibilities, I'm not seeing a lot of options. He could just do random moves, but I mean his guys are all spread out and they're mostly just kind of capturing checkpoints. He's probably going to want to reinforce that, and he only is going to have two things that can do that. So that's going to be kind of where he's going to go. The system is big. It's left that way on purpose. We'll see how everything kind of works. So let's go proceed on to the turn. I have these guys right here. I definitely want to take out these MCUs. They're looking pretty threatening. It's open information. I know that he's going to be developing this thing right away. So let's get those guys out and actually get them to do some pretty heavy damage. Let's go and take those dudes, and they're going to do a regular attacking. So I'm rolling 2 dice because it's not bounding fire. Bounding fire, 2 dice. I get to flip over the units and see what happens. So in this case, right, I'm making a total attack of 6, minus 2. Because it's a long range attack. Nothing is suppressed. There's no bounding fire or any of that stuff. So it's suppressed. So I mean 4. So that still puts me in the second range. I'm going to roll the 2 dice and see what happens. Okay, I roll a 6. 6, which means it's suppressed. Now, so in the suppressed, if my memory serves, that means that everything gets to roll. Yeah, everything makes an armor save. In this case right here, I don't believe you actually have to reveal what those units are, because you only reveal them when they're actually doing attacks. So in this case, each of those is going to do an armor save. Armor save means they have to roll higher. Oh. Suppression. Armor saves. Equal to or greater than their armor number. Okay, so they have an equal to or greater number than their armor number. 6. Okay, so this one's saved, and let's do the second one. No. But he has the oh, that's attacking. So he failed that one. One of these dudes is suppressed, and that's how that works. So that one can't move. It can't do it. It can't do much. He chose not to actually activate it anyway, and that's how that works. So now his first maneuver, he's going to take his dudes and move them out. Pretty good chance he's going to go want to support those. He's got 3 options here. Now he can move all of them, some of them, none of them. I don't know what he's going to do. So in this case, I'm actually going to flip over the probability deck and see. Okay, well, all, some, or none, and let's see what it does. He's going to choose to move 1/3 of the units to go support that. Now I think that's appropriate. He's going to probably want to just move that MCU, and he's going to probably use these guys to try to reinforce something they're going to do. I think there's a really good chance that that's going to happen. So let's see if he does. Yep, that's what he does. Okay, at this point, this deck is kind of a half empty. I probably do want to shuffle it just to check and see what it is. So he chooses to move his MCU over here. He could choose to make a bounding fire attack if he wants to. But, I mean, the odds of him being able to do anything with it, probably pretty low, so he's not going to do that. Because he doesn't need to. Okay, so now at this case right here, I can choose to make... I've got my 2 dudes here. Sorry, this guy's removed. This thing's removed because I used it. What do I want to do? These guys are looking pretty iffy. I'm not sure. They're not necessarily very good at attacking, and they'd be even less. But I could take out one of those MCUs. That doesn't necessarily seem as good to me. So I'm going to move this MCU over here just to give it a little bit more possibility to actually do attack. But then I'm going to increase my my mining skill just with those dudes. Yeah, that works because that guy can move force 1, 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4 because it's adjacent. So that works. Now his turn. He's going to choose to actually develop his this thing. See if he actually can do it. He rolls 2 dice, and he adds 3 to his result. 7, and he's going to add 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah. So he did he does do it, and he actually gets. That's it. But he did successful. I don't know what the plus does. I think it means it just happens. So he doesn't even have to do anything. So now his MCUs and crawlers are a lot harder to hit, just in general. So that looks kind of scary. And now I have something I can move. I've moved my second. So that was my second. So my third dude's going to move. I'm going to move him to the point where he can do some more damage. I'm going to actually go ahead and directly try to take out 1, 2, 3. I could just use it just to kind of directly attack him and do an actual assault. I don't know how the bounty fire thing works. Yeah, I'm just going to move him over there and actually just do a bounty fire. So he's attack. MCU of 6. Holy. Did I use the right one? Yep. Okay, well that's cool. Oh, that's a powerful MC. 6. Okay, so he does that. He's going to choose to attack. He's using bounding fire, so that's 4. No, sorry, that just does. Okay, so that doesn't shift any of those because it's 2 plus 2 0. So I roll 3 dice and discard the highest result. That's a long. Okay, highest result. So 5 minus 2 for long range attack, and that's it. So minus 2. Nothing is suppressed. It would have been nice if I would have done that against there. But minus 2. So that's 3, which means no result. Yeah, so nothing happens. Okay, so now he's sitting there looking kind of frightened. And, oh shoot, I never actually chose to move those guys. Let's see that actually, I apologize, that was a mistake. Let's say that those guys are going to probably try to reinforce. Now, I just opened up the information and actually did that. Do they reinforce? Probably. Yeah, and they knew that guy was coming here. So they're probably going to reinforce that one, sorry, this dude right here. And they're probably going to try to reinforce, unsure. I don't know if he's going to go for this one or this one. So let's just choose that one as being a reinforced. Actually, this one actually is looking pretty good to reinforce too. Let's see that he's probably going to do that one. Yep, he does. So that's where he goes. Cool. Now, as you can see, I'm making arbitrary decisions fairly quick for the computer, for the AI. That is, there's 2 ways of doing it. You can make very quick decisions, and that's why you give them the big giant bonuses. Or you can choose to make slow, deliberate decisions, in which case, well, the bonus, the kind of handicaps they give him become less relevant because then he is actually making more smart decisions. But you kind of go right there. That's, I think, enough to actually kind of finish the proof of concept video for this. I'm definitely enjoying this, but that was a full. No, sorry, I still have to finish his round. Let's see if he actually gets his missile turrets. 5. That's not enough to actually do it. 5 plus 3 is 8, which doesn't succeed. Now he can choose to suppress his stock to see if he does it. I have no idea if he would do that or not. Stock is obviously one of the ways you win the game, so let's check and see if he does. Yeah, he does. Okay, he wants to reroll. He really wants to have his missile turrets as well. He thinks it's more valuable to actually have big giant missile turrets than not. 5 again. Now, at this point, I don't think he's going to try to do it. I think he can actually do it once anyway, so yeah. So that's it. He didn't succeed. Done. Yeah, so that's kind of how that turn works. That would be a full turn of Moonbase Alpha. Again, you can do this several ways. You can choose to make it do it quick. You can choose to do it slow. Actually, I think he did gain a stock just because he successfully adjusted those. I can't remember. I have to look up the rules. I'm kind of out of time myself because I have to get to work to actually demonstrate this. But I think that kind of demonstrates how the whole system works per se. If you have any questions based on this, oh no, actually, sorry, I do want to demonstrate the auctions because I think the auctions are a little bit are actually really interesting. So I'm just going to do that right now and simulate an auction. Let's pretend these are cash. See, I've got 5 cash and he's got say 6 cash. Sure. Oh yeah, this suppression thing goes away for now. So let's see, he's got 6 cash and I've only got 5 to actually bid for something. Now, and we want object X. I really want this X. Now, I have 5 cash to bid for it. I don't know if he wants it. You would kind of choose. Okay, first of all, the thing you actually do when you're actually doing an auction. Again, this is a simple system. I'm just trying to demonstrate an auction. He's got a scholar personality. Let's say this thing is really good for research. I think he probably does want it. Let's see if he actually bids. So hang on a second. Let me just shuffle this deck. Okay, so let's see. I think he does probably want it. Let's check and see if he does. Draw again. Yep, he wants it. Okay, so now we instigate the auction. I'll pretend that he's the starter bid. He's going to choose to start and see what he does. Now he's got 6 cash and I've got 5. You can do auctions a couple ways. I'm going to choose to say that for this auction, he's going to base it on my total count of cash because cash is open in this case. So in this case, he's going to bid 1/4 of my cash. I have, and I'm going to say round up. So that means that I've got 5. 1/4 of 5 rounded up is 2. So he bids 2. I'm going to say, yeah, I still want it. I'm going to bid more. I'll bid 3. Now, he can choose to raise that or not. I don't know. So let's flip it over and see if he actually wants it. Nope. He still. No. Sorry. Yes. He increases the bid by 1. So in this case, he's going to go to 4. I'm stupid. I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to bid my total 5 to see what happens. Does he want it? Well, let's see. Depends. Okay, so depends is where you kind of flip over. It's like, okay, well, I'll sit there and say, well, does he really want to spend 6 just to get this one thing? That's all his cash. All his cash is gone. He is a scholar, but that's a lot of cash to spend. Depends means that you use the probability deck to kind of figure out. He's a scholar. Depends. I'm going to say I'm completely unsure. I don't know. Yep, he bids. Okay, so he's going to increase the bid, and he bids the full 6. I offers he can't counter it. He wins the auction, and he gets that thing. That's how an auction works in the system. Again, meant to be smooth and simple, so as to prevent the game. Like, you don't want the game to stall out. You want the game to keep flowing and actually really get the feel that you're actually playing a game. I do kind of demonstrate this in here. Yes, it is a little bit like playing double-handed, but it's not quite because you don't know what your opponent's going to do. In this case right here, I didn't know he was going to build these big giant units here. I didn't know that he was going to focus on like actually trying to get big giant defense going, so he could just kind of rape and pillage. I do kind of have an idea of what he's trying to go for. First, I knew he was an opportunist, and now I knew he was going to go for research, per se, just based on these things. The cards are deliberately vague. Some of them don't necessarily work for every game. That's cool. If it doesn't, personality doesn't really work at all. Like, I mean, if you're playing an aggressive game, but I mean, you're playing a thing where every movie is aggressive, well, it's like, well, you can flip over another personality and see. All of that's meant to be meant for interpretation. That's kind of how the system works. Thank you very much for listening to this video. Hopefully this is something you're interested in. Email me. We'll go from there. Thanks.